Hi everyone, it's the start of a new week, so welcome back to a new video. So if you're new here, my name is Gemma and me and my fiance James run a reselling business where we sell luxury and vintage items. So as it's the start of a new week, we've actually got a couple of items that we're about to post off. One of them being something that I was just kind of clearing out my wardrobe, so we've got that packaged up already. And then we've actually managed to sell one of our luxury vintage items, which I'll just show in a little second. Now, if you've watched some of our past videos, you'll see that we've been trying out some new packaging. So this is actually going to be the first piece that I'm going to be sending out using our new boxes. So I'll just kind of show you me packaging it up and everything, and we'll get that sent out today. So this is the item that we sold today. So it's actually a vintage Gucci like Filofax. So it's one of those things, I'll just kind of show you once you unclip it. It's got like the little ring binders, and you can get like little Filofax or little organizer inserts to go in here for like a little address book or diary or whatever. So real leather, really good quality. Obviously it's Gucci, it's got some card slots in it as well. So yeah, really nice piece. And then just about to package it up, as I said, in our new packaging, which I've got here. So instead of our bags, we're using these little boxes. So I'm thinking about maybe wrapping this up in a little bit of like tissue paper or something just to make it look a little bit nicer. And we also have our new stickers that we're going to be sticking on the outside of our boxes as well. So we've actually decided to use, just if you've seen in that clip there, a couple of our stickers to kind of like go around the end of the box. I think if you watched the video where I was kind of looking at the packaging, I was a little bit unsure about how secure the ends of the boxes would be, if they would just kind of stay in place with just the one strip. They do seem pretty sturdy, but I think maybe in the future we'll either use the stickers like what we did there, just to kind of like seal the ends. And it means as well that if there is anybody that's poking around in it, they would have to break the sticker, and it would be really obvious if somebody had done that like while it was in transit. Or we can just tape it, put a couple of bits of tape there. But yeah, so quite happy with how that looks. It looks nice and neat and really professional, so that's fab. One thing that is kind of going on just now with Vinted, which is a little bit frustrating, is that there seems to be a bit of an issue with their like payment processor. I think it's called Mango Pay, and saying that there's just delays of people getting their money, or like including us obviously, paid out. So initially we've seen that on Vinted it had a little message saying about a bit of a delay with receiving payments, that it was going to be like pending for a bit longer. But then when I looked into it a little bit further, it's actually their payment processor, which is Mango Pay. So don't really know what the issue is. So I'm kind of hoping it gets sorted pretty soon, because we don't want to be waiting for weeks on end on obviously our earnings. And frustratingly as well, there's a person that wants to purchase one of our quite high ticket items, but they're waiting on getting money paid to them, and they don't have any money to actually go ahead and buy it until they get their money. So it's just kind of causing a bit of a, everyone's kind of stuck just now. Obviously we do still have things listed on Depop and eBay and our website and everything, but we get a lot of our sales through Vinted. It is actually quite a big percentage of our income. So really hoping that gets sorted out pretty soon, especially as it comes into the festive, coming up to the festive season where people are purchasing things maybe for gifts and things like that. So yeah, that's a little bit frustrating. Hi everyone, it's a couple of days later since we last caught up, so I'm just about to pack up another order. We've managed to sell another one of our older vintage hoodies that we had. So this week I have been focusing on a lot of relisting things again, kind of like what I mentioned in our last video. So changing the titles, the pictures a little bit, sometimes adapting the price just a little bit, and then relisting things that have been sitting for a little while to try and get some of our older stock shifted. So I'll just kind of quickly show you what we've sold just now. So it's a vintage Reebok hoodie, a really nice big thick good quality hoodie. So I'll just grab that up just now, and we're just going to package it up and then get it sent off. So James has just let me know that we've actually managed to sell another piece as well, something else that we relisted just yesterday. I think it was a Ralph Lauren knitted, like thick knit quarter zip jumper. So perfect obviously for this time of year. So we've just sold that as well, just sent out a bunch of offers for people that favourited it, and somebody's went and bought it, so that's fantastic. I'll just quickly show you the hoodie and then I'll grab the knitted jumper as well. So this is a Reebok hoodie that we've sold. It's a nice kind of dark red kind of colour, and it's got the Reebok logo actually stitched on the front, so it's RBK logo, and then a little logo there, drawstring, nice thick jumper, sort of dark red, dark burgundy colour, so really good for autumn, winter, and it's a nice big size as well, which is great. So it's a nice could be worn oversized, or obviously if the person actually wears that size. So sold that, so we'll just get that packaged up just now. So as a little thank you, we've actually been adding in to some of our packages like a little sticker with a little message on the back with a discount code for our customers to use at our website. And then we also pop in one of our like business cards as well with all our like website information and email and everything on the back, just so that if they want to shop with us again, then they can do it on our website and they'll get a little discount off as well. So we're going to pop these in with these two packages, and hopefully that will try and encourage a little bit of return customers. And then this is our second piece that we've just sold. So it's a really nice thick chunky knit Ralph Lauren quarter zip. Nice red colour, little brown leather look zip, little navy blue pony logo, and it's got ribbed sort of detail around the collar and around the bottom and the sleeves and everything. So a nice really thick chunky knit jumper for autumn and winter. So just about to get that packaged up as well. Esther, really? What are you doing? You underneath the umbrella? Hi again. So it's a couple of days since we last caught up. So I think we last finished off dropping off a few packages and things. So yesterday we had a bit of a day off. We always try and have a bit of a day free from doing anything work related. Oops, so there's a bit of fluff on my camera. And there we go. Anything work related, and just kind of have a bit of a free day, maybe do something nice together. So we had a bit of a day off yesterday, so we're back to doing bits of work today. So we're actually James got an appointment, and then I'm going to go and pick up a new pair of glasses. So after we went to pick up my glasses, we're going to head back, and we've actually sold one item on eBay. So we've managed to sell one of our vintage luxury bags, a Gucci bag, and because it's over a certain amount, eBay actually do this free authentication service, which is great. So basically the bag gets sent off to their authenticator like centre or whatever it is, and then it gets then sent on to the customer, obviously if it passes all the checks and everything. So it's the bag the one that we weren't sure about the lining and things inside. So it'll be quite interesting to see if it does, you know, pass everything. I mean, obviously we've been told that it's authentic, it looks authentic to us, so I'm just hoping that it passes everything from their end. If not, it just gets sent back to us, and obviously the customer gets given their money back, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, so that will be sending that off later today. We also thought we managed to sell one of our other vintage pieces, a Chanel purse. However, again on eBay, this has happened a couple of times now, that once the person has either purchased it or put an offer in, they've then cancelled it, which I think on the likes of Depop and Vinted, you can't do that. Like once you buy something, that's it. And if you ask to cancel, like I know that the seller can refuse to cancel, but it's a lot trickier to cancel something after you've like bought it and paid for it. Whereas on eBay, it just seems like, you know, the buyer can do it quite easily. So it's a little bit frustrating obviously for us, because you think you've sold something when actually you haven't. So yeah, so that was a little bit frustrating. So I actually had a little bit of a look into who it was that purchased from us, and their account there seemed to be an error or something. So I don't know if it's been like a bot account, or they've maybe deleted the account or something, and that's why the purchase has been cancelled. So I'm not totally sure what's happened there, but obviously we hadn't even sent it out or anything. It was literally cancelled within an hour of us actually receiving the sale. So yeah, so I think that'll be, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen too often, because it's quite a little bit frustrating. So that's one of the things that I thought we can maybe talk about later on in the video, is kind of now that we've tried out Vinted, Depop and eBay for quite a while now, there are definite pros and cons that we've noticed about each platform, things that we like about certain platforms and things that we really don't like about, you know, particular platforms. So I thought later on in this video we could share a little bit about that. Again, so So it's the next day since I last caught up with you when we were sitting outside James' appointment in the car. So since then, I think we mentioned that we were going to come back and send off a Gucci vintage bag that we've managed to sell, and that we were sending it off to the eBay authenticator place. So managed to get that sent off. So by the looks of it, the way that I think it works anyway, is we send it to the eBay centre where they authenticate it, and then they then send it on to the customer. So this will be the first piece that we've actually sold that we've had to do that with. So I'm hoping it arrives as we packaged it. I think that was the only sort of slight concern that we had, is obviously we package our things in a certain way. We put like our business card or things in, other things we put stickers in. So obviously they'll need to open it to be able to authenticate the item. So I'm just hoping that they obviously package it up as nicely as we packaged it to send it on to the customer. So yeah, so we'll keep you updated on how that goes. That'll probably be in the next vlog. So I think that's actually quite a good like system that eBay have, that they actually send off things that are over a certain price to be authenticated for free, so the seller doesn't have to pay anything, the buyer doesn't have to pay anything. So I kind of thought it'd be quite good to kind of, I suppose, talk about some different pros and cons that we've kind of noticed from using the different platforms, especially since we've, you know, been using all three platforms now, Vinted, Depop and eBay, you know, for quite a little while now. So first of all, I thought we'd talk about very quickly about Vinted, because that is actually the platform we started off on. So I'd say positives with Vinted are that it's really easy to list things. You can list, with your listings you can actually upload up to 20 photographs, which if you have something that has quite a lot of features is great. So definitely really good if you've got a lot of listing photos. Obviously descriptions and things are really easy to fill in, and then the payout system as well is really nice. Like that was something that I really liked with Vinted, and I'll kind of talk about how this maybe compares a little bit to Depop and eBay later on, which is actually why I think Vinted is actually the best for this. So once your item is being posted and once the buyer receives it, I'm pretty sure they only have like a couple of days to kind of click the everything is okay button. Obviously if they click everything's okay, that means they're happy with the thing that they've received and the money will be released to you. If they don't click it, I'm pretty sure they only get a few days or a couple of days to okay everything, and then it actually, Vinted automatically okays it. So it's almost like it's by default, which is great, because it just means that like if people forget to click it, it's not like you're sitting there waiting for weeks on end to receive your money. Another positive that we quite like about Vinted is the number of different options for postage. So there's everything from Royal Mail to in-post, and I think there's a few other ones as well. And obviously it's up to you if you want to turn on the option to do which ones you want to do. So definitely that's another big positive. Negative wise, to be quite honest with you, the only negatives that we've really had is dealing with some of the customers themselves. I think Vinted has a very different type of customer, and it is people that are looking for bargains. So you will get more cheeky messages, you'll get people almost arguing a little bit with you about something, about the price, about accepting an offer, about the description. And in my experience, the best thing just to do is just to sort of politely decline dealing with them, because kind of get the impression if they're going to be that difficult and you've not even sold something to them, it's probably not worth risking selling something to them and then they then have an issue with it. So even though you've tried your hardest to answer all their questions and to give them as much information as possible, chances are there's still going to be something that they're not happy with. So yeah, that's probably the main negative I would say with dealing with Vinted. Not my experience, but I've heard if there's been people that have had issues with, say, parcels going missing and things like that, or dealing with a difficult customer, then Vinted, I've heard, aren't the most helpful. But we've never, touch wood, had that experience so far. So obviously I can't really, comment on that too much unless it actually happens to us. So moving on to Depop. Positives for Depop, I would say, again, really easy listing sort of process. Again, different types of customers on there. So I feel like on there you are going to find people that are more likely to be looking for vintage pieces, unique pieces, you know, they are looking to, you know, find something a bit more special and are happy to pay a little bit more money as well. Negatives with Depop though is actually, there's quite a few, like sort of with how their website actually, or how their app actually works. So the first would be that you can only upload 8 photographs, which I think is hardly anything, especially when you're thinking about you wanting to give your potential buyer as much information as possible. So that to me is quite a big negative. Also, depending on where your potential buyers live, when they favourite something, sometimes you can't, there's not the capability to send them an offer, and I think that is because they're maybe in a different country. So that's really frustrating, because we do actually have international postage turned on, so people from other countries can buy from us, but we can't interact with them, we can't send a message, we can't send an offer. You know what I mean? It's a bit, you know, it's very limiting in that way, so that's a bit of a negative there for Depop. And then for Depop, the paying out system isn't too bad. It just sort of happens automatically, like after the customer receives their item, it's all kind of automatic within a few days. However, if somebody wants to return something, they've got an entire month to be able to kind of raise an issue with Depop and then request a return. And depending on the nature of the return, if it's one that you have to agree to, say it's maybe they made a mistake, or you know what I mean, it's something that the seller has to agree to, obviously you have control over whether you accept the return or not. However, if it is a return that you've made a mistake, which you know is quite right, you should, you know, they should be able to return it. However, it just happens automatically, which I think can sometimes catch sellers out if they're not expecting a return. And then I've, you know, kind of heard of people having actually money refunded out of their account and things. So I don't like that. Like, I feel like if that is going to happen, you need to be like warned, or there needs to be like a few messages on the app and things, just so that you aren't going to just have money taken out of your account. Again, it's never happened to us, touch wood, but it's not, you know, it's not something very nice to not have control over. So another little negative about Depop is that they don't show you how many people have viewed your item unless you pay to boost it. So compared to Vinted, you can see how many people have favourited your item, you see how many people have viewed your item. Obviously, if you want it to be boosted a little bit, you do have to pay for that, like separately. But for Depop, you don't even get to see the views unless you've boosted it, which is a little bit, you know, frustrating, because obviously you want to know what things are performing well, what things are being seen, which things aren't. So that kind of brings me on to another slight, I suppose, positive for Depop, but maybe not so much for Vinted, is that Depop, you can boost your item, but you only pay for that boost if the item sells. So like a percentage of your item price goes to Depop for boosting it. Whereas on the other hand with Vinted, if you want to boost an item or bump an item, whatever it's called, you have to pay money up front, and then there's no guarantee it's going to sell, and then you could obviously just be out of money. So it just depends on how you prefer. If you do want to like even boost items at all, obviously you don't need to do that, but just to be aware of that there's two very different ways of doing it on those platforms. So then moving on to eBay. So with eBay, some positives again are, you know, you can add a lot of details to your listings, you can add a lot of photographs to your listings. And again, I think people on there are a little bit more likely to be looking for something special and are willing to, you know, pay for that. So these are all, you know, really good positives, I would say. Again, you've got the ability to post internationally, you've got a lot of different postal options, you know, all that kind of stuff. And as I've mentioned before about the authenticity guarantee thing, I think that's great that eBay offer that free of charge to the seller and the buyer, and it just kind of gives that little bit more confidence to the buyer, especially if they are buying, you know, quite pricey luxury items that are designer branded. You can always say to them, oh, if you're not sure if it's real, or if you're wanting, you know, extra reassurance, it will get sent off and checked. So that is such a great, you know, little service that eBay do offer for free. So some negatives with eBay is, even though the listing process is really detailed, it can be quite tedious. So out of listing on all the platforms, eBay does take the longest, because there is a lot of boxes to tick and things to fill in, and measurements and colours, materials, all that kind of stuff. Obviously it's good because it means that your, you know, customer has a lot of information, but it does take a little while. That's the only thing to keep in mind. Also found on eBay, we do again boost our items on eBay as well, and that works very similar to Depop, where it's a percentage of the final sale that they take if it sells. But I find that on eBay it can actually be quite tricky to be seen, and I don't know if it's just because we're obviously a newer store, this is like the last platform we've been trying, or if it is just that eBay is such a big marketplace, so it's going to be trickier to be seen anyway. However, we have sold a couple of things on eBay, especially recently, so I think it is just the more that you use it, the more you'll get seen. So the last kind of negative that we've kind of noticed recently with eBay, which I think I mentioned earlier on in this video actually, and potentially in the last video, is people retracting offers or people buying something and then cancelling it. So we had an offer for an item and we didn't accept it actually, but then they retracted it. So I think there's a lot more flexibility from the buyer side of actually, I don't think there is binded to a sale basically, like, or an offer, like once they make an offer or once they purchase something, I think it's quite easy for them to pull out. So obviously that can be a little bit frustrating if you think you've sold something and then say a few hours later they decide to cancel it. And again, it's one of those things where when somebody bought an item the other day and then asked to cancel it, it's kind of like, right, do we just, because it did ask us to approve the cancellation, and it just make you think, right, if I say no, are they just going to try and return it anyway and then cause a big massive, you know, problem? And then obviously you've got the worry that you might not get it returned in the way that you sent it out and things like that. So yeah, we just cancelled it. However, when I did look into it and seen the account that bought it, it looked like that account didn't exist anymore. So I'm actually thinking, was this eBay that cancelled it because it was maybe a bot account or a spam account or something like that, or maybe their account had been suspended or something, I don't know. So, you know, obviously potentially it could actually have been that it was helping us out, because imagine if we sent it out, the person didn't exist anymore or the account didn't exist anymore, and it just caused a big massive problem. So yeah. So I don't know, I mean, don't really know what happened there, but hopefully it doesn't happen too often in the future. So yeah, so that's just a few things, positives and negatives, like really kind of going into detail kind of past our sort of first impressions of the platforms that we've kind of noticed, especially over the past few weeks, with really using them properly, you know, consistently. So what I thought I could do just before we finish up this week's video is actually show you my progress with making my vintage puffer jacket. So I actually made quite a lot of progress with it last night, so I'll just grab it just now so I can show you. So this is the stage that I'm at so far. So as you can see, I've actually not just cut out the pieces, but I've actually stuffed it as well, and you can actually open it out so you could actually see what it looks like. I've only sewn it together at the shoulders so far. So got the back piece, two front pieces, they're sewn together, as I say, just at the shoulders, just so that I could see what the fit would be roughly like. And if I kind of flip it like that, you can kind of see that it's all puffed, but it's all been stuffed, all the different sections. So I'm actually not too far off from finishing it. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is adding in the sleeves. So I've got two sleeve pieces kind of cut out here. Obviously need to get the lining on the inside of those, and I don't know yet if I'm going to add stuffing to them to make them puffy, because I don't know if it will just look too puffy. So yeah, I've got this nice orange lining on the inside, and when I do actually add that to the outer fabric, it does actually make it a little bit more obviously sturdy. So I don't know, we'll see how it feels, what it looks like, try it on, pin it together. I might add a little bit of stuffing just to kind of, you know, fill it out and make it a little bit thicker. But yeah, we'll see what I feel like. And then obviously I need to add a collar around there, and then I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do about the fastening, if I'm going to make it like I think I'm going to do poppers, that's sort of what I was going to do. And then obviously just things like finishing it off like along the bottom, around the cuffs and things like that, and just to kind of finish, just, you know, do all the little finishing touches. So yeah, so I'll continue to share how I got on with that in our next video. So I'm hoping to have it finished over this weekend. So I should hopefully be able to show off the finished one, the finished thing in next week's video. So yes, that's going to go ahead and finish off this week's video. So if you found it useful or if you enjoyed it, make sure and subscribe, and also click the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, and we'll see you in our next one. Bye!